Thanks, Alana. Time to continue our in-depth analysis of where we stand at the moment with the Oscar Pistorius trial. State Advocate Gerrie Nel left his sympathy at the door in court yesterday as he slammed Oscar Pistorius for not taking responsibility for the killing of Reeva Steenkamp, even going so far as to force him and all of us to look at an image of Reeva's blood-soaked head. Let's take a listen.
Take responsibility for what you've done, Mr. Pistorius.
My lady, I've taken responsibility by me waiting and not wanting to live my life, but waiting for my time on this stand to tell my story for the respect of Reeva and for myself. I've taken responsibility, but I will not look at a picture where I'm tormented by what I saw and felt that night. As I picked Reeva up, my fingers touched her head. I remember. I don't have to look at a picture. I was there.
Hard-hitting indeed. That moment was obviously an extremely emotional and harrowing one for Pistorius, and I think certainly for Reeva's family in the courtroom, as it would be for anyone. But it's important to leave emotion aside in a criminal trial, because in the end, the truth lies in the cold, hard facts. To help us get to the bottom of those facts is an expert lie detector himself, Forensic Psycho-Physiologist Ben Lombaard, to give us his insights on where the truth really lies. Ben, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. And
I could see your eyes shifted to focus the moment you heard the voice. Unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity to see Oscar's face by his request or his team's request, but what are you instinctively picking up listening to his voice?
Okay, if one listens to the voice, especially during the apology that he tendered to the family, one could hear fear more than remorse. That's one of the things I picked up. And also, if one listens to when he was being questioned by Barry Rue, you heard the same thing. You could hear his voice was almost trembling all the way through, as if to say, please don't hit me, I'm bigger than you, sort of thing, in the same context.
Yeah.
Opposed to when Gerrie Nel took over, he had a more defensive, the trembling was gone, and it was more monotone, and carried on from there.
And of course, he was broken by the line that Advocate Gerrie Nel took, and you know, he himself was giving a huge amount of information in his answers, to the point that Advocate Nel actually said you might incriminate yourself. What does that lead us to believe? The fact that he was giving us almost too many details of the account.
Correct. If one listens to what Oscar has been telling us up to now, he's been telling us all about nothing. Every time he answered a question, he gave a long run around without saying either yes or no. Truthful people stick to the facts just by sticking to yes or no, and wait for the next round where he can elaborate on that.
There was one particular moment that everyone, I think, you know, it piqued all of our interest, was the fact that he brought some new information in for the first time. The fact that when he was questioned about the firing of the weapon, that he said it was an accidental discharge, and then was later correcting himself, saying that, you know, going back to his previous version. Offering two different accounts of that moment, what does that tell you?
Okay, if one listens to the one, it's clear that Oscar painted himself into a corner there, and he tried to back himself out with another version of what he wants us to believe.
Your gut feel. I know it's impossible at this stage, and obviously not being able to have the full scope of information and being able to see his body language and read his face. What is your gut feel in terms of your experience and vast knowledge in the field on his deceptive nature, or the nature of the testimony?
Gut feel is that either those accounts that he's given to the court yesterday are not the truth.
So the truth will out, we hope, at this stage. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Ben. This really is an interesting side of forensic investigation, and I'm sure both legal teams are unpacking this in exactly the same way. Thank you so much for your input.
Thanks a lot.
And we'd like to thank sabcnews.com as well for being our media partner through this. You can go online to get all the latest details. Make sure that you are staying on track. But it is making for a riveting week in the trial of Oscar Pistorius. We're going to take a very quick ad break. Expresso's back on the other side.